everyone. Welcome to Confessions with Nikki G. Today, I thought I would talk about self-care and why we should focus more on our self-care. And I'm going to speak from a woman's perspective, of course. I try to invite men, but I never can find anyone that would be willing to come. But I guess men, you need self-care as well. But self-care goes beyond the scope of what a lot of us think of as maybe going to the doctor. That is part of self-care. Exercising, things of that nature. But I want to go a little bit deeper when I speak about self-care today. I want to talk about how we are our inner peace. How do we truly take care of ourselves from the inside out, which is important. And a lot of us, we're so busy taking care of other people that we don't take time to really, truly care for ourselves the way that we would other people. It comes a time in life where you have to be selfish and think about yourself. And I know for a lot of us, that has small children, and you're married, and every day, it seems like you wake up, you go to work, you're getting the kids ready for school, and then you're off to work, you get your husband, off to work. Then by the time you come back home, then it's homework and maybe you have to cook and all of that. And by the end of the day, you're so exhausted, then more than likely you're going to go to sleep. And I'm speaking before Corona because I know a lot of us now work from home. But typically that would be a day for a lot of us. By the end of the day, you're so tired from working, taking care of the kids, taking care of home, that all you're going to do is go to sleep. Well, that whole day has passed and you haven't done one thing for yourself, which is very important. I remember I had a client and she was probably at that time maybe like 99 years old. And every day I would go to work, she would always have a sermon for me, some kind of life advice. And the one thing I can remember, she would always say, baby, take time for yourself. She was like, you need to take care of yourself. Go buy yourself something. Do something nice for yourself. And I'm listening to her. And of course, I'm younger at the time. This is going in one ear and out the other. But as I got older, I didn't realize what she truly meant. Because being selfish and taking time for yourself in a day is very important for your mental health, your physical health as well, and your emotional health. We need that. A lot of the articles that I read started out with, when you're talking about self-care, that a lot of us get self-improvement mixed up with self-care. They're two totally different things. So a lot of us, when we say self-care, we mean, oh, we're going to exercise, maybe it's something about yourself that you don't like that you're trying to fix. That's self-improvement. Self-care allows you to have that nurturing experience. You have a nurturing experience that was only catered for you. As a mother, you're going to nurture your child. You're loving your child. You're going to care for your child. Well, in that moment, you will be caring for yourself in that same manner, from the inside out. And a lot of us, when we do come across, problems in life, which we all have to deal with them at some point, some type of problem, and we all deal with them internally differently. But once you begin to self-care, especially from a mental point, you will be able to handle situations and other areas of your life differently. The article that I read was by, let me look up the name because I don't. It was written by Healthline. And this individual used how some of us numb whatever we're feeling on the inside by drinking, eating in excess, and just doing things that will, as I would say, put a band-aid over the problem, but you're not really fixing the problem. You're numbing the problem. You know, some people do drugs. I mean, it goes deep. But in the article, she defined numbing as a short-term fix that allows you to escape. However, true self-care allows you to process what is causing you pain, what is causing you to want to numb. Self-care. So I found that important to talk about because a lot of us, we never even think about ourselves, especially when you have family. Like I said before, you have family and different obligations that you're tied to. Some of us are married to our job. You know, some of us put everything before ourselves. So at some point, it's okay to become selfish. I've said that in numerous episodes. I had to learn that for myself, how to be selfish. I had to take my schedule, sit down, and come up with these blocks of times that I would do certain things. So for my self-care, it may start in the morning. I may have an hour or two in the morning. I may have an hour at night before I go to bed. You know, it just depends on which area of my self-care that I'm trying to tackle into. But the important thing is you have to make time for it. Because you have to make time for it where it'll fit into your everyday schedule. A lot of us say, oh, I don't have time to be worrying about that. But you're saying you don't have time for yourself. You have time for everybody else. Why wouldn't you have time for yourself? Another interesting point that the article brought out was that most of us, speaking of women, we're taught that we should give to others first. And they use the example of working after all the work is done, you know, and you clean the house up per se, then you take some me time. Why can't you take me time all during the day? Or why does it have to be in that box where you've done everything for everybody else, but you hadn't done anything for yourself? That's the mindset I feel like a lot of us need to change. We need to learn to take care of ourselves physically, but also mentally and emotionally. And we should do it in a productive manner. You know, a lot of us need to stop numbing and begin a journey of healing, but healing in a healthy process, you know, using a healthy process to heal. And once again, I use myself. That is the journey that I had to take for myself. And whenever I experience something and I'm happy with it, I always love to share it with someone else. You know, it may not work for everybody, but hey, you may be that one person that it will work for. You know, and you may come up with your own ways of self-care. We all have different ways of caring for ourselves. And some of us probably never even thought about it until you started listening to my podcast. But it's something to think about. That's why women, I believe, have the highest rate of heart conditions, because we hold so much in. We so busy doing things for other people. We're not even thinking about ourselves. We are the last person in the bubble that you might even think about. And I know for me, at one time, my me time just included me going to the nail shop. That is good that I would take time to go get my nails and massage and all that. That's good, but I had to go beyond that scope, because just like this author said, that even though I was doing those things, that was my way of numbing at one time. I still wasn't dealing with my internal problems. They were still there. The article also said that in most cases, we end up robbing ourselves of quality self-care time. And it is true. It is true. A lot of us, if you're being honest with yourself, How many of you out there right now can say, I take an hour or maybe 2 hours out of your day just to do whatever it is that makes you happy? Or even to internalize some kind of a storm you may be facing, some kind of problem you're facing. Sometimes we just can't go head on with our problems. Sometimes we got to step back and think about things first, internalize it, then come up with a solution. But a lot of us, when the problem comes, we just do whatever we're feeling at the time. We acting off our feelings and we haven't really even thought about it. But that is where that selfishness come in, and you're going to take that time for yourself to actually think about it. But that's all part of self-care. So I came up with maybe some ways that you could possibly incorporate self-care in your daily lives. And once again, today, I'm sorry, I don't have a guest per se. So I will be using myself for confession time. Now, I've already said that for a long time, I did not self-care in a proper way. I did not take time to, take care of my mental and emotional well-being. I was numbing, crazy, eating out of control, drinking out of control, just doing things to take my mind off whatever situation that I was supposed to be dealing with at that time. And just as the article said, it's just like putting a Band-Aid on it, because at the end of the night when I go home, or even after I finish eating all that food that I didn't have any business eating, the problem is still there and it's still internalized. A lot of the things that I read broke it down into categories. 3 categories of self-care. The physical category is one, mental and emotional. A lot of us, when we use the term self-care, physical is normally the only one we really think about. Oh yeah, I go exercise, or oh yeah, I go to the doctor, or simple little things. But how can we incorporate physical self-care into our everyday lifestyle? Well, one simple way that I read was simply taking your lunch break at work. Those are, I don't know, some people have an hour, some people have 30 minutes, but that time is allotted to you. You're by yourself, and you can do something that can help you, alleviate your stress, or whatever you want to do, but something as simple as physically taking your lunch break. Now, I know a lot of us, like myself, I am guilty. I will not take a lunch break when I'm at work, because I like to get off on time. If I feel like taking 30 minutes or an hour break is gonna jeopardize me getting off on time, guess what? I'm gonna skip that lunch break and I'm gonna keep working, which I shouldn't do. But in our practice now, I'll stop and go take a lunch break. Now I like that. It's become habit. I go sit in my car. Most of the time, I sit in silence. I don't have the radio on. I might turn my phone off. That's my time to just unwind and just detox from work, because work can be stressful. Life can be stressful. It may be something going on in my household. Those 30 minutes that I take to myself, hey, that's my self-care time. So that's one way you can incorporate your physical care in your everyday routine. Now, another way I self-care in the physical sense is I go walking every morning. A lot of time I take out, I don't know, maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour every day. And I go and I walk. As I'm walking, it's just me and my eternal thoughts. That gives me time to evaluate situations, come up with some kind of conclusions of what I need to do. Sometimes as I'm walking, I will put on motivational videos. And I'm feeding my brain things that bring me inner peace. I'm feeding myself things that's going to bring me inner peace. While I'm walking as well, I'm taking care of my body. So that's self-care. That's like two birds with one stone. I'm feeding my emotional self-care, but I'm also doing a physical sense too. Now, if you want to go out and do something other than the things that I said, fine. What is it? You have to think about what is it the things that you can go out and do by yourself. That doesn't mean if you're a walker like me, that doesn't mean take your kids with you. I see women out there with their babies and strollers and things. So no, this is going to be a time when it's just you by yourself. It's your time. That's when you're going to be selfish. Another example that they use, something simple as sleep. You don't know how valuable sleep is to your mental and emotional health until you have lack of it. And I'm saying that to say I used to work a graveyard shift, 10 at night, 6 in the morning. Sometimes I'd work 7 at night to 7 in the morning, day after day after day. And my brain would be so bogged and jotted up that I couldn't even think straight anymore. Any little thing would bother me. That's because I hadn't had any sleep. So now, as part of my self-care, I have a bedtime. I gave myself a bedtime of 11:30, and that's because of the hours that I work. So at 11:30, that's my bedtime. Everything turns off. My phone is off. My TV is off. Everything is off. Because I was always the person that my brain never turns off. I'm laying in the bed, but I'm not resting. My brain is steadily going, especially if the TV is on. I got my phone in reach. I'm looking at my phone. I'm doing all this stuff when I should be sleeping. And then before you know it, it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go to sleep now. But then I have to be up for 6. So I haven't got any sleep. So that's not good. So I had to allot my time to sleep. And it makes a big difference in my day. When I get enough sleep, my workout is better. My walk is faster. My brain is not cloudy. I can actually think. I can remember falling asleep driving. I had stayed up when I was working those graveyard shifts. I stayed up so many days just up, because even though you might get off in the morning, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go to sleep. Like in my case, back then my children were smaller, so when I got off at 7, guess what? I had to get them ready for school, get them off to school. Then I had to come home. If I had to run some errands or whatever I had to do it in that allotted time. By the time I get back home, it's time for them to come home from school, and I still haven't been to sleep. But I have to go back to work, for 7. So that was hard. So eventually I just let that go. But during those times, I now value my sleep. And like I said, I gave myself a bedtime. And I wake up energized in the mornings. But when I don't have enough sleep, I am not the same person. Trust me. I am grouchy. That's another thing. You're grouchy. You're tired. You don't want nobody talking to you. I know that was me anyway. I have to have my sleep. The next thing that I said was mental. How can we mentally, self-care? The examples that I read said that a lot of people use a journal and they write down their thoughts. Some say that if you can read, you have to sit down and think about what works for you. What works for me may not work for you. That's why I always say you have to find the thing that works for you. So mentally, for me, I allot so much time that I read. I like to read different things on mental health. I like to read how, people deal with certain emotions. And I would take that information and then use it for myself. Maybe not in the way that they did, but I can process some things piggybacking off of some of the things that they did. At one time in my life, I was in a toxic relationship, and the person that I was dealing with was a narcissistic person. But until I began to read and journal and write down things and begin to listen to people, I didn't know how to handle that internally. I took in everything that this person was doing to me, and it was affecting my mental health. So I had to bag up and I had to learn how to self-care for myself, and stop worrying about other people and other things and why this person is acting this way. I had to worry about myself. I had to be selfish. And it's not an easy process, especially when you've been doing things for other people for a long time. It's hard to turn that on and off. I get that. But once again, it becomes a habit when you practice it day after day after day. After a while, it becomes second nature. You won't have a problem with that. So for my mental health, I read. I recently found out that meditation is a good way too, to deal with your mental health as well. But I don't meditate in a traditional sense. My meditation comes in different ways, like when I'm working out and I got that alone time by myself, and I'm thinking, I'm processing a lot of things. So that's for my mental well-being. Sometimes your mental self-care can come from just simple as having a confidant, somebody that you can talk to about your problems. A lot of us don't want to see a therapist. I saw a therapist. But before then, I was one of them people, I don't need to see a therapist, but yeah, I really did. Some of you do, but hey, that may not be for you. You may have that friend that you can talk to. You may have that one person that you can tell your problems to, and can be your sounding board, or can, give you some positive feedback. But I would caution you about talking to friends unless you're absolutely sure about that person. Be careful of who you talk to, because they can take your energy and turn it into something that you never even thought it could be. You could just be rock bottom by the time you get through talking to certain people. And I wouldn't say that these are bad people or whatever, but they just haven't took the time to even do any self-care of their own. So how can you talk to somebody else when they don't even know what's going on with themselves? That's the way I look at that. So you have to be leery who you talk to. And maybe you don't have that friend or it might be a family member. Maybe you don't have that person. I always say a journal is good, because you're writing down your thoughts, and you can read them and you can look at them and you can evaluate what you just wrote down. That's a good way too. Another, I feel like, good way is to self-care mentally. Whatever you're dealing with, I don't know, whatever problem you're dealing with, the internet is full of videos, especially YouTube. I love YouTube videos because, you can put in something as simple as self-love. And you'll have all these different videos about self-love. But it's up to you to find that one person that you feel like that could help you, and you can run with that, because that's mental. Like I said, when I take my walk, I have my I'm sorry, I'm still old school. I still use headphones. I'm sorry, I'm not a Bluetooth yet. I'm working on that. But when you have that in your ear, it's very important that you're listening to things that's going to uplift you, that's going to help you heal. You don't want to be around a lot of negative stuff. You don't want to hear a lot of negative things, And some things on your journey of mental health, you may not want to hear, but you may need to hear them in order to heal. Because I run into a lot of people say, I don't want to hear that. You may need to hear that to heal, because you're going to have to deal with it. Then again, I don't think it's a matter of people not wanting to hear it. They don't want to deal with it, period. And back to physical, when I said sleep, that sleep will help your mental health as well. Your mental self-care, that sleep is so important. I can't emphasize that enough. That sleep is so important for your mental health. The next one I said was emotional. I don't know about you guys, but mentally and emotionally, I don't know, those two to me are kind of tied together, because if you're not together mentally, of course your emotional health is going to be messed up. So the example that they gave in the article was to talk to a friend, which I said you use that for your mental and your emotional health. Talk to a friend, family. Or another good way that they describe that you can feed into self-care from emotional standpoint is to write down good things that you may have done in the day for other people. I got kind of confused with that, because either you're going to be selfish, you're still going to do good things for other people, you're going to write down. I guess it's supposed to make you feel good because you did good things for other people. But be leery for that. Don't do too much where you're stressed out. And I'm really speaking from myself, because I'm the type of person, I had to learn how to say no to people. And that wasn't an easy process, but now, yes, I'm quick to say no. But in the beginning, whatever somebody wanted me to do, I would do it whether I felt like it or not. People pleasing and learning to say no, that causes stress. So I would kind of walk a thin line with that. But if you did something good for a person, it's okay to write it down and look at it, and that makes you happy. I would say for emotional health, do things that make you happy. And I'll use myself for an example. I like working out. So I use my working out as a tool if I'm angry about something, or if I'm happy or whatnot. And I say the term angry because it's okay to be angry, but how do you deal with that anger? Me, I like to hit the punching bag. When I'm mad about something, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to hit the punching bag. But that's just me. That's how I deal with it on a physical sense. Mentally, I'm going to sit, I'm going to think about it before I address the problem. But that is me. The article said that some people try yoga, I'm sorry. Some people do something simple as just stretch, and then the last thing that they wrote for emotional health and dealing with stress is don't skip sleep to get things done. I just gave you an example of how that stressed me out when I was skipping sleep to run my errands, to do this and do that, when all those things that I had to do would still be there if I hadn't went home and went to sleep for a few hours and then got up. But at the time, I wasn't thinking like that. Whatever it is you have to do, it'll still be there. And in this day and age, there's really no excuse, because you can do a lot of things online. You don't even have to leave your house. With Corona, this is really, you don't have to leave your house. They'll deliver your groceries to your house. You can really pay any bill online or over the phone. So in reality, you really don't have to leave your house. But a long time ago, when I'm speaking of, was maybe late 90s. Late 90s, yeah. That's when I was working, night shift and doing all those things and neglecting myself sleep. And to this day, I still struggle with the sleep thing, because I'm always up, trying to accomplish the goals that I set for myself in a day. So I'm learning to say, okay, Nikki, it's only 24 hours in a day, and you need to sleep at least 6 or 7 of those hours, so something's not going to get done. So I have to go back to my list of to-dos and figure out what can wait to a later date, or what can come, what can I do later, because I have to have that time for me to sleep. Now, I will say, when you use the term self-care, a lot of us think about pampering, which I said, going to the nail shop, getting a massage, and all of that is good. I see some women, they get the facials with the cucumbers and all that's cute and dandy, but self-care is internalizing, having inner peace, because that is so important. And if you're like me, or the way that I used to be, I rarely had inner peace. There was always something going on with me. I was always stressing. And when I'm speaking about this stress, I'm thinking about an episode that I did with this young lady, and she said she did the sleep study, and she said she went in, she thought, she was sleeping, rested up. Said she got up, and the doctor told her, you never slept at all. Your brain was steady going and going and going and going. And that was causing her, health problems. So I said to myself, that is so me. That is a lot of us. We're laying down, our eyes are closed, but we're not resting. Our brain is steadily going. So you have to find a way to turn certain things off so you can rest and give your brain time to, like I said, like a computer, to reboot. You need that rest. But the manicure, let me go back, I digress. The manicure, pedicures, and stuff like that is fine, but to me, that's cosmetic. You have to have that inner peace. You have to find out what ways work for you to get that inner peace. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight. But the good news is it can happen for you once you make your mind up that that is what you're wanting. Sometimes we do have to take time to renew all the areas of our life. And that is something that I did for myself. And I always say things that I did for me. When I say renew all areas of my life, whatever I was dealing with, whether it was my household problems or my relationship problems, I had to sit down and think about what the problem is and how I'm going to fix it. And my problem solving also had to include myself. I could not neglect myself in the problem solving. And I will use myself for an example. When I was going through problems in my marriage, my thing was, oh, he needs counseling. He needs this. So I need to set this up for him. No. What about me? What do I need? I'm always so quick to say what he needs, but what do I need for me? You have to stop and begin to ask yourself. That self-talk, as I say, that inner dialogue with yourself. You have to take time to do that. What is it that you need? What is it that makes you happy? Now, in order to discover those things, that's going to require you to have that quiet time to yourself. And once you figure out those things, that's when you will truly be in the process of self-care. I hope that a lot of you will take this in consideration. Like I said, I was a single mom for a long time. I was a single mom before, I got married and this, that, and the fifth. So I understand how stress and just everyday living, you really, really think that you don't have time for self-care. I would say to you, make time. I wish someone had told me this when I was in my 30s or even in my 20s, 25, 26, because I spent so many years stressing and living with that, not having inner peace. I done caused myself to have high blood pressure now, different health problems that that could have been avoided if I had done the things that I needed to do to take care of myself first. Because if you don't take care of yourself and you're sick and you're down, how are you going to take care of other people? You cannot. As far as my diet, I know I said on my previous show that I did, the Battle of the Bulge, I'm an emotional eater. So that was the main thing. If I had took time to do self-care, then I probably wouldn't have been emotionally eating, because I would have had ways of dealing with my emotions. I run into so many people that don't even think about how they're dealing with their emotions. They act off of anger. That is the worst thing you can do. Once words come out of your mouth, you can't take that back. You can apologize till the cows come home, but whatever you said out of your mouth, you can't take that back. So that's why I say it's critical that you get that mental health. And the words coming out of your mouth, You can't take that back. And the words that you internalize, very important. Because what we feed to ourselves is what people see on the outside. So if you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm scared, I can't do it, other people going to see that. And that's how other people treat you. And I read a quote, and I think it's appropriate, that can explain what I'm saying in detail. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, it was an article I found written by Parade magazine. And it said, we have to care about our bodies and what we put into them. Women have to take the time to focus on our mental health. Take time for self, for the spiritual, without feeling guilty or selfish. The world will see you the way you see you and treat you the way you treat you, or the way that you treat yourself. And that was written by Beyonce. That is so true. The world is going to treat you the way that you treat yourself. So if you walk into a room confident and you are, you're giving off these positive vibes, and guess what? You're going to get positive vibes back. I'm not saying everybody going to give you a positive vibe, but when you're healthy mentally, whatever comes your way, you're ready to deal with it. And, I didn't realize that I had conditioned myself to be that way until somebody said, something wrong with you. Well, I went to work one day and there was something wrong with me. I was quiet. It's like, no, you usually come in here positive, happy-go-lucky. You got some good words to say. What's wrong with you? Something wrong with you. And I was giving off that vibe. So that person knew that something was wrong with me. So I'm saying that to say, yeah, you give off vibes when you walk in the room. How you think internally is how you come off to other people. So it's very important that you take that self-care. And don't, as Beyonce says, don't think of it as being selfish. You're taking care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of number one, who will? Who will? So with that being said, that is going to be the end of this podcast. Short and simple. I just wanted to talk a little bit about self-care. This month I did all New Year's resolutions that individuals come up with, from losing weight to exercise to changing their diets to saving money to now self-care, or taking care of themselves on another level besides the physical exercise. Because the physical is good, but you need to self-care as well. It's very important. If you have ways that you self-care differently than what I spoke of today, I would love to read about it. You can write me on Facebook at Confessions with Nikki G. Please don't forget the E in Nikki. You can email me or come to my website, nikkig.org. And you can shoot me a message. And, I want to continue this conversation going, because maybe you have ways that you self-care that can help somebody else. And that is all this podcast is for, is to possibly help somebody else to help themselves. That is the end of this. And I hope to see you, not see you, but I hope to talk to you again next week.